Honestly, I feel like Evelyn doesn't need an introduction because we both know exactly why you're here. Hey, man, eyes up here, big dog. Evelyn Chevalier rushes into battle right behind Astriel without missing a beat. Our latest S-rank fire agent is bringing her own mixture of self-buffs, explosive combos, and her own unique style of chain attacks. Did I forget to mention the part where she doesn't need the enemy to be stunned? In today's video, we'll cover everything about Evelyn, from her most effective builds to dish out some insane damage, which teams will help you take her to the next level, and a brief breakdown of how to take full advantage of what she brings to the table with her interesting kit. We're closing out version 1.5 with a bang. Let's dig into the best assets Evelyn has to offer. Similar to Astra this patch, Evelyn is also a super straightforward character that brings a lot of potential to your account. Everything about her revolves around her core mechanic, the binding seal. Whenever you see this orange thread connecting her to an enemy, they've been bound by her. Easy, right? Now, why is this the basis of her kit? Because binding seal gives her a free 25% crit rate boost, which is what she uses to get the party started. She gains a brand new EX skill that can be activated on and off the field. She's able to dish out chain attacks without the enemy being stunned. She has a frame perfect dodge that costs 0 meter, and she buffs herself up with multipliers upwards of 125%. This woman is any rushdown player's dream. So while that's all great and dandy, there are some key things to point out in order to help us play the character as optimally as we can. I mentioned everything about her core gameplay revolving around binding seal, right? That's mainly due to her passive called bind, and it using burning embers for everything in her kit. It's easier to think of burning tether as another form of skill meter. When Evelyn deals damage to the enemy, this orange bar fills up, and with every half mark, you can press skill or hold basic attack to dish out one of her garrote techniques. Doing this move gives Evelyn a burning tether point, which are these orange arrows here. Once she has 3 of these, the next garrote you hold will turn into her chain attack, and that opens up all of her doors for big dig damage combos. So what better way to show you that than to open up with a combo starter? Instead of mashing basic attacks mindlessly, we can start our combos with skill 1. This move instantly tethers the enemy and leads into skill 2, which is one of the best moves in the game for crowd controlling mobs. EX2, or skill 2 for short, also has perfect dodge properties, an AoE explosion ender, an endless combo loop, and is automatically used whenever Eve swaps out with the binding still active thanks to her core passive. With all of this in mind, we can start building out a strong combo route that can be modified in any given situation. If we don't mash, we'll always be able to notice when an enemy is attacking Eve, allowing us to use binding sunder as an evasive attack that deals a fork ton of damage. Now, because of Eve's core passive, here is where we want to use switch tech, and it's even better if you can steal a defensive parry at the same time. Eve binds the enemy while dodging their attack. Her defensive parry triggers from the stun unit, and Eve stays on the screen to rebind the enemy with binding sunder final form before detonating an AoE bomb on their head, which normally we don't allow to happen due to us canceling it into another combo loop, but here is where it's good because it's guaranteed free damage plus days. Speaking of combo loops, let's finish the combo we started from skill 1. That's gonna look something like skill 1, skill 2, BA 3 through 5, rinse, wash, and repeat. This combo gives Evelyn a true combo loop, but thanks to the properties of her skill 2, we can literally always be in a position to never stop attacking. Well, I mean, as long as you don't get hit. By keeping Evelyn equipped with binding seal at all times, that means she always has access to performing either version of EX2 thanks to switch tech, giving her a constant flurry of pressure against enemies even when we're on the defense. I mean, she literally says, and I quote,
"The best defense is a strong offense."
Evelyn excels at keeping the pressure on her opponent's neck while manipulating defensive moments into offensive opportunities. Once we fully understand this and learn how to properly execute her combos or team rotations, that's when we can take our Evelyn gameplay to the next level. She's basically Soldier 11 plus Ellen, but on crack. She's so fun to play, and with her simplicity at its core, it means her options for team comps are expansive as heck. But we'll get into that shortly throughout the video. Before that, let's go over her preferred gear to get your Evelyn online. From this point, we get into Evelyn's gear, which should be easy because the best option for her specifically doesn't exist yet. At a base kit, Evelyn holds around 20% crit rate from her A through F talents and 25% crit rate from the binding seal passive. This giving us just under 50% crit rate before adding any other gear into the mix is insane. We still need a weapon though, and here's the first part of where your builds might differ. If you own her W engine, you'll gain another 24% crit rate for free, bringing you near 75% before any substats or disk drives, which is pretty huge for netting 100% easily. If you don't run her signature W engine, then your only free-to-play option that gives crit rate is Mercado Desire. Unfortunately for my newer players, this event ends ended at the beginning of version 1.5. So sadly, all of your other free-to-play options are attack percent based. Taking a look at these engines, the Brimstone or Street Superstar will be the best for the free-to-play players. These engines give combat attack, which is great, but now you'll need to make up for the lack of crit rate Evelyn's W engine would have provided. A crit rate Dis 4 should make up the difference though. After engines, it should be a lot easier for you to manage substats since everything is great for her, and in the ideal scenario, you aren't starving for crit rate sub. In my opinion, 4-piece burning is a waste unless something massive is otherwise discovered. Use it if those are your best pieces, but ideally you want 4-piece woodpecker. Not only will this give you 8% crit rate, but you'll also grab a solid 27% combat attack just for playing the agent properly. A 4-piece pin could also work, given you have a strong understanding of your team rotations during the stun window, but this set is more difficult to meter manage since you only have a 12-second window to maximize that ultimate buff damage. So if we compare those to the 4-piece burning, you'll quickly notice that you're essentially over-capped on crit rate. With the W engine or crit rate body, you're easily creeping up to 90-something% crit rate, which bad substats, anyone? Thankfully, her 2-piece options are completely flexible. Branch and Blade, Astral and Hormone, or Puffer were my most used during all the successful tests. You don't have to think hard about her gear at all. It's easier to get her online compared to many other DPS we have so far. You guys know the drill on Mindscapes. You don't need these, especially on Evelyn, but if you happen to get them, let me have your account. M1 is cool. I'd personally stop here if you're looking for more damage performance out of her. The 12% defense ignore is nice on top of her own fire res shred from the W engine. The 1500 decibel gain allows her to immediately jump into her install state after a full combo, rounding it off and turning her binding steel into a full-on AoE tether. She's already a solid attack type DPS, but M1 makes her a much more potent agent. After that, M6 is where the train ends. With this Mindscape, Evelyn gains an entirely new ability called Shadow String Edge. Whenever she hits an enemy with any of her standard attacks, she does an additional follow-up attack to Lunalux Garrote, dealing nearly 400% of her attack to all enemies in the area. This is counted as chain attack damage and can trigger up to 16 times before a refresh occurs. She's not as cracked as the other units, but damn is she fun as fuck. Now that we got all the easy stuff out of the way, we can talk about the fact that Evelyn is one of the most flexible DPS agents we've had. She shares a lot of team concepts with Soldier 11 and Ellen, but due to her more varying playstyle, it feels like she elevates both of their team types by double, which is why I'm bringing back the team explanation. Best in slot, most effective, and hyper carry. For those new to the channel, let me explain. Best in slot means the units on this team are irreplaceable for now. Everyone on this team performs at their highest caliber, helps each other passively through combat, and serves a purpose other than purely existing on the team for one agent's benefit. Most effective is, on average, the strongest team for all forms of content. It excels at destroying single target bosses, shutting down mechanics, and absolutely fucks on everything. Hypercarry is hypercarry. You're funneling everything you have on this team into a single point, which is Evelyn, and buffing the crap out of her in order to screenshot damage your way to victory. But funnily enough, one of these teams fulfills all three categories. And I feel like it's fair for us to start with that team being Astra, Evelyn, and Lighter. This team is a contender for one of the most well-rounded comps in the game. Astra brings her usually massive attack boost, crit damage, all type damage, and extra chain attacks and quick assist. This lines up perfectly in Evelyn's what do I want from a partner pocket, and is currently the only way to pull off those high damaging combos consisting of more than 5 chain attacks. Seeing as these characters were literally designed for each other, it's a no-brainer as to why Astra's here. Lighter brings his own set of impressive buffs. Refusing to get left behind, he's got a 15% fire res shred that goes on top of Evelyn's own, upwards of 75% fire damage bonus, which immediately allows Evelyn to run a pin or attack percent dis 5 instead of fire damage. And just as important is the 3-second stun extension he adds on the timer. All of this packaged wonderfully into a stun unit just for Evelyn. And speaking of Eve, she takes advantage of both partners thanks to her amazing switch tech opportunities. The ability to heal, defend, and attack without needing to physically stop attacking is a massive bonus that not many other characters in the game can hold a candle to. They're like an RPG party from Dragon Quest. Evelyn dishes out every attack possible while grouping them all in one place. Lighter stuns the crap out of everybody with some technique he stole from Star Platinum, and Astra hides in the back singing prayers to keep everyone vigorous and healthy. This team is so good, it hits the buzzer for best in slot, most effective, and hyper carry. And as much as I want to be done with editing this video, there's no way I can leave you guys hanging without giving some options that aren't the most expensive. For players that don't have all 3 options from earlier, there's a lot of different combinations you can make. Coleta, Lucy, Caesar, Bernice, Nicole, or even Anby can find a viable position on Evelyn's team. And after weeks of fooling around with team comps, here are the few considerations I found to be the strongest. Astra and Evelyn are a golden pair, which means if you have these two but no lighter, then you really want to slide in Coleta or Caesar here. While other stun units like Anby or Lycan can be used, each of them come with their own gripes that don't make it any easier for the player or Evelyn. Both Coleta and Caesar have their own traits unique to them that make you feel like you're playing separate Evelyn teams. Coleta is one of, if not the fastest stunner in the game, which many of us have gotten as our first standard character. She has short, strong combos that are further enhanced by her Furnace Fire passive, and because of Evelyn's switch tech, what you'll eventually get the hang of is double tapping parries into Coleta's BA2, then skill, just in time to bring Evelyn back on the field and do it again. Contrary to that, Caesar is the only other character in the game with a manual parry besides Ben. This lets you come up with some cool interactions like an EX2 tag out from Evelyn, then immediately getting the perfect shield parry from Caesar in order to build up stun crazy fast. I felt this particular pair works the best against 2 or more boss enemies like Disputed Node 8. In the event you don't have Astra, but you do have Evelyn and Lighter, then you can pretty much use whichever support you want in the 3rd slot. I found Lucy to be the easiest for free-to-plays to learn with, but Nicole's defense shred and additional grouping alongside Astra's ether bombs made for some really impressive combos. And honestly, as of late, I've really been gravitating towards Nicole over most supports, but we'll talk about that another time. Of course, you can mix and match any of these units into whatever team is available to you. DPSs will always have a preferred team, regardless of it being premium or not. As the player, it's up to you in finding which teams work best for your account and get the ball rolling. I'm just here to help you do combos and look cool doing them. And with that, we're wrapping it up. Evelyn is a strong agent that helps push the attack type units in a new light, and it makes sense why they brought her banner right after Astra's. She offers a ridiculous damage output with her solo kit alone, amazing self buffs, and plays nice with a lot of friendly agents on a team. Building her is incredibly easy, and I can easily see a character like this lasting well off into the future. If you were lucky enough to get both Astra and Evelyn, you can even pull off one of the nastier teams I didn't show off in this video: Astra, Evelyn, and Miyabi. That sounds nutty, right? I know. Evelyn Chevalier rides the whip with a solid 4 out of 5.